Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner Studios. With me is the United Way Director, Steve Schetrom.
Yes.
I got it right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Steve, you're fairly new. You've been
Yes.
here a little while.
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning. Tell us what the United Way is.
So United Way is an organization. What the United Way is trying to do, rather than work on one thing to address needs in a location, it is trying to address the whole, like basically transform a community. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different. So basically it's an agency of agencies.
Right.
So other agencies that are doing specific work will look to the United Way for funding. And so what the United Way is saying, it's a very, very unique value proposition. And if it's not done correctly, it's not a good United Way. It's not a good situation. If it is done correctly, it can be really, really good for the community. But there needs to be hard work and there needs to be input in it. But that's what the United Way is trying to do. It's very unique.
Because there's a lot of organizations out there.
Yes.
And they all running which way or the other. And I get the impression that the United Way is trying to corral the effort there, and
I think so.
And have us like, let's go down this direction here.
Yes.
Well, everybody heard of the United Way because we have a lot of fun. Everything is fundraising nowadays, so we hear a lot about the United Way. And so, tell us how does it work here in Front Royal?
Now, the United Way in Front Royal has been around since 1950. So it's a very old, very established, very old organization, and is well known. Like anyone you talk to will know something and have some sort of idea about the United Way. Like, for example, but also in the past year, this past fiscal year, so our fiscal year ends June 30.
Right.
We funded 7 different agencies. So the United Way focuses on certain things. We focus on education, income stability, and health. Those 3 areas are agencies focusing on those are more inclined to receive funding from the United Way.
Okay. Or a little prioritize the funding.
Yes. Which it is important because, like you said, there's many organizations.
Sure, everybody's got their hand out, don't they?
Yeah, and so United Way. Here's an interesting thing that kind of gets you further into really what the United Way is trying to do. There was a project, the ALICE project. So ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. It's a certain segment of the population. And so what the ALICE study showed, and it was done specifically in Virginia, it was sponsored by the Rappahannock United Way. What that study showed, though, is that 39% of the population in Virginia is below the ALICE threshold. So you have the federal poverty level. Mm-hmm. That's at a certain point, but that's extremely low. So what the ALICE threshold tries to do is show what kind of income really is needed in order for someone to actually be stable in the state of Virginia. So their survival is one thing, but stability is quite another thing. And the income for a family of 4 in the state of Virginia needs to be around $60,000. If it's not that, there can't be stability. And so what that study is showing is what is needed from community groups like the United Way, the input that is needed from that to go in to make up the shortfall.
Right. So because that's that sliver of people that make too much to get any kind of help, but not enough to do it on their own.
Yes.
So that's where we really need to give a helping hand.
Yes.
And I notice that I know a lot of us get in that sliver, and you wonder, like, well, I can't get any help.
Yes. No, totally. You're exactly right.
So who are some of the agencies you funded then?
So the agencies we funded Blue Ridge Housing, Blue Ridge Opportunities, Blue Ridge Legal, Healthy Families of Warren County, the Phoenix Project, St. Luke Community Clinic, and the Laurel Center.
They all do good work.
Extremely good work.
And of course, they do also their own fundraising as well.
Yes, they do all of them, and which we're now in the process. We have set up for July 2nd and 3rd, so just a little less than a month in, we're going to have our interviews for our new funding coming up. We're a little bit late because I came in March 6th, and so usually we want all that done, but you just have to do what you have to
do. What you got to do.
Yeah. So now we'll do it in July at the beginning, but that will set us up, for being able, because our first payment won't still be due to our first payment that we make to them.
Mm-hmm.
We have time, so we're just having to fit it into a little bit smaller space.
The United Way is the one that has the little thermometer along the side there and says.
A lot of times they do.
Don't
yes,
they have that? When does that start? When is the fundraising period? Because a lot of times, you always say, well, our company give 100%.
Yes, I think historically, most companies did it in the fall. There was a fall campaign,
right?
And a lot of companies still do corporate. The bigger companies. That's when they're going to do it. They're going to. So we go out, talk to them, and there's a wide range of how much. How much influence the United Way has in a company. Some, like, I'll give you UPS.
UPS is really
extremely good for the United Way. Like,
right.
If we had, multiply that out, we'd be really, because
if we had 3 or 4 more of those, we'd be all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and they even did. We already did one golf tournament with them, and then we are working on another one in the fall. So that's like all year round, that campaign. But most in the fall is when the campaign happens.
So we're going to be seeing the United Way campaigns kind of head out here over the summer. They're starting gearing up and getting the word out there and start the fundraising.
Yeah.
Because wintertime is when a lot of these organizations get hit. It seems like the cold weather brings out the need for a lot of things.
Yes.
The clinics, the housing, the domestic abuse. All those things are kind of geared to financial situations.
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
So it's a good work, and it's hard to fund these organizations. And like you said, everybody trying to do their own thing, and so it's like economic of scale. You can work together on making this happen.
I was talking to someone recently who's pretty influential in the county. They know what's going on in the county, and they mentioned something. I think it would be good. Actually, 2 separate people that I talked to, and one of them was mentioning. Both of them actually were mentioning that a thing that would lead us toward collaboration of the agencies would be a great thing. I think it would. One person even mentioned. I think David Brooks wrote an article and mentioned an interesting thing. In Canada, they do this, but in the U.S. we're different, which we pride ourselves. I'm not speaking, out down against.
We're different.
Yeah. We got to be different,
American way. Yeah.
That's right. But we don't do that. So, and it can hurt. Okay, if there's no collaboration and there's competition, there's naturally going to be, which is good, yes, but there are times when you need more collaboration so you can do more economies of scale and not have waste going on and take more advantage of your resources.
Well, that's the thing that really kind of, I don't want to say the word aggravates, but really get people concerned. A lot of these organizations, out of every dollar, just pennies goes to the actual, to the end result, and so much as 90% plus is put into fundraising and overhead, and a lot of these organizations are paying these huge salaries out there, and
yes, no, you're totally right.
And people have just got turned off by it.
Absolutely. You're completely right. And I'll tell you another part, though, that's good about the United Way. And, because people can make decisions, but I tell you what is an interesting thing. So there's the United Way Worldwide, which is in Northern Virginia. We're not far, Alexandria, we're not far from the United Way Worldwide. But the way United Way does it, every local United Way is its own. So the decisions are made at the board level, at the local United Way, rather than United Way Worldwide.
Okay.
That's a very interesting thing. So, because there's been some negativity about the United Way Worldwide.
All our money's going somewhere else, and they trickle back a few dollars, kind of like our taxes.
Yes, no, absolutely. And when you're out, it's understandable because I have my job that I'm doing, but I still have my feelings about how money is used, and so so the United Way CEO was, I think he had a high salary. Which, different opinion. If you find someone who can actually do that at that level, they're probably worth it. Okay, because not all that many people exist who can go through the changes, transformation of a whole organization. Not that many people who can actually do it. But people had a negative view. But we have to remember, it's still at the local level. It doesn't mean your local United Way is doing that at all with the money.
So if we raise $1 million in Front Royal Warren County, $1 million stays here, or a small percentage goes up, or how's that?
Well, yes, we
overhead?
Well, we do have to pay to be a member of United Way Worldwide.
Right.
So you have to pay for that, and it's based on a percentage of what you're bringing in. I mean, so there is that. It's the negative part, but and
it's
again,
still economics of scale, and
yes,
and the benefits outweigh the.
Yes, and I'll tell you, for our own United Way, we just completed the budget. We just presented it last month's board meeting, and then we'll approve it by this month. Our expenses are extremely low. Okay, so our expenses are very low, and then we right now are wanting to work, to increase our fundraising, but all that is going to be given in the community. And what comes in Warren County, ours is a one county United Way. So unless that donor is saying they want it to go to an outside source, it stays in the county.
So we're going to be funding organizations that are in Warren County.
Absolutely.
Or work in Warren County.
Yes.
Because I know something like the Laurel Center has got offices here and offices in Winchester and things. They are multiple county organizations.
True.
Phoenix Project. I mean, I know they're basically a county, but somebody that lives across the line, they're still going to help them.
They are, and on their when they do their application, they'll put the percentages of and the numbers of people, and then they'll get very specific, because they'll have how much that costs, and then we'll know how what we're putting in is going toward that allocated to that actual thing.
Right. So it's a good work. It's hard work. I know. Let's talk real quickly about the board. What kind of people make up the board here? Just to get an idea, are they members of the community? Are they part of these other organizations? How does that work?
Sure. No, very good question. So we have 12 members on our board. Our board is a very dynamic board. It's made up mostly of business people. I can tell you all the members.
Sure, go ahead.
So the president of the board is Corey Michael.
Right.
A CBM Mortgage. Then the vice president is Felicia Hart, the director of the economic development tourism for the town. Then the treasurer is Deb Cahill, No Doubt Accounting. Then
amazing how accountants always get stuck as a treasurer.
Yes.
They say, "Well, you can do that. I do that all day. Why do I got to do that?"
Right.
She does a good job.
No, she does. And these days, specifically in this county, you want to have your accounting going.
We want to have a very open and transparent organization.
Yes.
And I know that United Way should do that.
Yes, absolutely. We have to lead the way in that to show, we're responsible, and that we have checks and balances, that there's no money.
We're not going to have $21 million disappear in the United Way. Okay, go on. You got Deb. Now go on.
Yes. So then Casey Tanner, who's a mortgage broker for CBM, she's a secretary. Then other members, there's Terry Mays. She's with Valley Health. I hope I don't miss one here. Okay, so
you got to count them out on them fingers.
Yeah, I better count them out. So you have Heather Clatterbuck. She's United Bank. You have Amanda Kendall. She's Element Risk Management. She's a branch manager there. You have Steven Schetrom. He's an attorney with Solic. Let's see here. We have Tamar Yeager. Tama Yeager. She's a community volunteer. That's what she does. Then let's see here.
You're going through the list. I can see it right there.
Going through the list.
So there's these people that are not really part of any of the organizations you fund. So there's no in.
Right. Yes. Now there is. So the United Way really helped establish the Phoenix Project, especially in their startup. And Corey Michael is on the board of the Phoenix Project still. So that's good. But the Phoenix Project is their own standalone now. They're doing.
They're out there doing some things.
Absolutely.
finished doing some work for them, and I know they do a good job. They do a good job.
Yes, they do. They do.
It's kind of one of those, the jobs that they do is, it's not really in the public per se.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, they do a lot of dealing with people that have some domestic violence or something and abuse, and it's not something you read in the news every day or see who helps people, but they are out there, and we do have that.
Yeah. We also, Mike Hirsch, who's director, he works for the school board, and then also he is the president of the Warren Coalition also. Then there's Emily Mounts. She's an administrative at the county level. So there's a couple more board members.
That's good. It's a wide got a good variety of people that are keeping an eye on things and organizing, and they're people that knows what's going on. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not just made up of bureaucrats.
No. There's a pretty good mix. It's real interesting. It's real interesting in working with a board because you have different people with a much different outlook and focus on life, and you're bringing all those together. One person is going to be real focused on fundraising, moving that side forward. Another person, once you have all the stuff correct, it's real interesting working with a board, learning all that, bringing it all together.
All right. So now you talked about some of these businesses that provide it. So if an individual wants to doesn't know who to donate things to, United Way is kind of a good catch-all organization.
Yes.
So how about people about doing that? Let's say a small company or individuals that aren't really part of this collective of fundraising. How can they get hold of you, or do you have that capability? You have a website in town?
Yes.
And we'll put all the links to this in the story so people can click and go to their website, but you do have that. So there's a way people can individually donate as they go along.
Yes, there absolutely are.
Well, we'll do that. We'll keep that information posted out there in case anyone wants to learn more about the United Way. But like I say, we hear a lot about it. We just don't kind of know where it is, what they do. I don't know if people really even know that, and it's kind of interesting to see how it's this collaboration of these organizations that get together. But that's one thing we're trying to do is highlight some of the organizations in our county. What does St. Luke's Clinic do? What does the Phoenix Project do? What there's the House of Hope, and we've talked to them, and so there's a lot of these things that people don't even realize that they're in our own backyard, and how and the need that we have to help these individuals, and especially that sliver of people.
Yes.
When you're down too low, you have a little more. As we all know, they want you to be in the street before they'll even help you. I know. We've had some times as you get a little older in life and Social Security and you get into some sort of long-term health care. Well, if you got more than $2,000 in the bank, sell that, sell this, go broke, and then we'll help you. And this sliver, that's where people said, well, if I get rid of everything I own, I just need help for a month or 2 months or 6 months to get going. I know it's hard, but I think we at least have employment, and it'd be nice to get our EDA on track and get some jobs in here.
Yes, absolutely. And I was at the town council meeting last evening. They were talking about there's different things looking to come in. Harbor Freight looking to come in. There's a new Valvoline station out here. So there are a lot. Then the grounds for the hospital has been broken. So there's a lot of things, and this community has awesome potential. It does.
I think we're just right on the verge of breaking loose. If I can, use that. I've talked to the new EDA director, and everybody's taking flack over something, But if we would just look at things in a very positive light, and organizations like United Way and what they're doing and how we can get involved in things and focus on the future and focus about how to, if we go out this direction and we can grab the hand and help somebody else up to drag them along with us. I think that's kind of what the direction of what we're trying to do. And we don't keep people down, but we want to bring them up, build them up to.
Absolutely. No, I think you're totally, and I think that you can see, I think we really are right on the verge. There's so much potential, and if real work is put into that, the sky's the limit.
It takes the community. So we've all done it. We're all guilty of it over the past years of, somebody else is doing it. Somebody else is doing it. I'm busy. I don't have time.
Sure.
It's just like raising your family. If you don't put the time in, when your family's 20 years old and you got to go visit them at the RSW, somewhere in the middle there you've lost the focus on what we should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that happens to everybody, but it does happen.
It does happen, absolutely.
And you look back and say, was there any one thing that caused it?
Yeah,
it's hard to really pinpoint that down. But a lot of it takes work. Parenting is hard. Everything's hard. That's why it's called work, I guess. But
it is.
It's a great 4-letter word. We love to have it. Love and work. That's
right.
Two good words.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So what should we do next? I mean, what will you be doing next? What will you be doing next in the United Way? I notice you're working on your new budget, obviously.
Yes, working on a new budget, and then we'll have.
You haven't decided next year who the people you're going to help support.
We had the interviews. We had the interviews set for July 2nd and 3rd.
Okay.
So we're actually going to meet at the new police station.
Oh, there
so they
you
have
go.
a community.
That's right. They have
there.
a community center there. Take advantage of those spaces.
And it was very easy to reserve it. So that's great.
No one was on the list.
No, but I was really happy to learn about that. So we'll interview those. We have several. We're already set up and booked for the interviews, and then we'll make the decisions. And we do have requirements, and sometimes
you just don't ask. There's got to be really a need.
Well,
you got a checklist how you weigh things out and put weight on different.
Yeah, well, it's the requirements on the what the agency needs to have. If there are revenue thresholds for it. So they have to be an established nonprofit. So see, there's sometimes going to be like a startup organization. Right. They're not going to get funding until they get to a certain point. Maybe it could be the case, and that can be a little bit hard to digest, honestly. Sure. But on the flip side of that, it is safety. Okay, and that's what the United Way.
You need to be a good steward of the money that people have given to you. You want to get the biggest bang for your buck.
Yes, and that's the reasoning. And so it could be frustrating for a smaller organization, but there is a reason behind it.
Yeah, they're the same way as individuals. They're in that little sliver there.
No, you're totally right. Absolutely. Right. So that's what we're working on next, and then. From there, and I'm kind of excited about that because that would be my first time going through this process. Sitting down with the agencies to hear what they're doing with the money. That forms a connection because otherwise you're just fundraising for your organization.
Exactly.
If there's no connection, it's hard. It's harder. It's much harder. But
if you believe in the organization and the cause, it's real easy to sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're working on it, and then from there the fundraising. Because from where we're going to end this year, then going into next year, I want to see great improvements on the revenue side.
Speaking of revenue, how much money did the United Way raise last year?
So last year, we're going to end, so now I'm making a little projection because we have still a few more weeks left.
Oh, yes.
But we're going to be, our budget was set at $106,000 is what we would have wanted to raise. And we're going to be probably like $30,000 short of that, which that's not great at all.
No, that $30,000 goes a long way for some of these organizations.
That would fund a lot of projects, and so, but the organization was around 6 months without an executive director. It's amazing. I mean, the board did an amazing job of keeping it going.
There's a lot of work to do daily work.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, now, in previous years it's been much different than that. They've had like some really, really good years when you look out like past 10 years.
Sure.
So there's a great difference in the amount of revenue that's come in over the years. Right now we're at a low point in terms of, but like when we were looking at the budget, and I did a very conservative budget on the revenue side, and like I'm quite certain if the work is put in there, will be significantly higher. And all that, because like I say, our expenses are very low, all that will be able to give out to agencies. That would be a great thing.
So like you had this budget, let's say $100,000, and you helped these 7 organizations, but if you had $150,000, you could help 9 or 10 or 12 organizations.
Yes,
Is that how you rate them down?
Yes.
Until you run out of money and sorry we can't help you? Is that pretty much how it works?
That's pretty much how, we're going to give our money away. We're not going to,
You're not going to dribble it out to you're going to pick the agencies and what the budget you
yeah.
When you just cut it off versus trying to, instead of giving $10 to everybody, you're going to, that doesn't really help anybody, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, that's one discussion we had, because you're trying to see, do you want more bang for your buck here? Do you want to spread? You have to make those decisions, and they're big decisions, you know, because
it's hard.
It's hard. It's hard to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And I mean,
telling people no is tough.
yeah. And sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
No is a word. Everyone has to learn that word.
Learn that word.
It's a growing up. But yeah, we're I think we're going to be doing well as long as we just keep plugging away at it. I mean, like so the ultimate goal, we should be at the $250,000 to $300,000 range. That's where it should be. Like if there's a good job being done by the executive director, and you know there's a good board you're working, like we should be able to raise that.
So you put yourself a good goal on yourself to get out there and crack the whip in the.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I really appreciate it, Steven. Thanks so much for coming in and talk to us. We'll keep people abreast of what's going on, and as new things happen throughout the year, let's get together again and just put an extra little push out there and let people know when these campaigns start, so that they can start saving their shekels there, so to speak, and doing it. But it's a good work. I'm sure there's a lot of people that really benefit from it, and we'll get some of these other organizations in and talk about it as well. Really appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come and talk about it. Thanks for getting our word out there. Because that's a big deal.
Well, we want to be part of the community just like everyone else is, and sometimes this is what it takes to get the message out.
Yeah.
Right, really appreciate it. Again, good luck on your new job, and you keep your nose to the grindstone there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks again.